So now David has officially been arrested on charges of murder. We can drop this absolutely nonsense theory that, you know, maybe she died of an accidental overdose. Maybe this was just one big accident. This was just one big, little whoopsie that got covered up and they panicked and, nobody's to blame. It's a load of nonsense, okay? And apparently now the medical examiner has actually ruled Celeste Rivas's death a homicide. Now, I don't know if we've got more information about the exact reason or method or what actually caused her to lose her life, but according to TMZ, the medical examiner have indeed ruled the death as a homicide. That's a big part of why they were able to charge this clown. And essentially, hopefully we get some more information soon about exactly how this murder, this homicide, played out, and it wasn't romantic. It says a critical piece of evidence in the David murder case is what caused Celeste Rivas's death. A high-ranking source in LAPD has told TMZ that the LA Medical County Examiner's Office has ruled her death as a homicide. So the medical examiner had trouble determining the manner of death because the decomposition of her body was so bad when they found her last September. So at the time, we were told they might never know what the cause of Celeste's death was or whether or not a homicide took place or if it was an accident. But according to the LAPD source, the medical examiner's office believes they have actually figured it out. And we got these glorious pics and videos here of David being hauled away by the cops. And as it says, he was arrested on Thursday in LA over 7 months after Celeste's decomposing corpse was found in the trunk of his Tesla, which was sitting in a Hollywood impound lot. After being abandoned in the Hollywood Hills while David was on tour, he was booked into the LAPD 77th Street Station jail, which, as I told you in the previous video, is a horrendous jail. He's going to be in a whole world of pain. It's a jail that the 77th Street unit of the LAPD tends to cover the hood, them parts of South Central you do not want to go. This ain't Hollywood, this ain't Beverly Hills, this ain't Bel Air. He in the 77th Street Station in a lot of trouble. So it says members of LAPD's elite robbery homicide unit showed up at a Hollywood home that David was laying low at on Thursday afternoon, escorting him outside in a police car, and we saw him in handcuffs. So we're going to talk in a different video about his lawyers basically saying that, he didn't do this murder and he's going to prove it. Let's look on Reddit, because a lot of people on Reddit have been trying to get to the bottom of what actually led to Celeste's death, and people are pretty delighted to hear that the medical examiner has now spoken out and ruled Celeste's death as a homicide. People saying, so sad, man. She was 13. Personally, I think David should get the death penalty because of how the body was left, man. Very sad. Death penalty is too quick and easy. I'd rather get death than spend the rest of my life in prison. People saying, if this is the case, why the F was TMZ an hour ago saying the case is weak and that Blair Burke says David didn't commit the murder? We're going to talk about that later. We'll talk about that later. It says investigators told ABC News they can prove murder and the medical examiner rules the death as a homicide. So they must have some evidence that proves that he murdered her. So it seems there's forensic evidence then, plus circumstantial evidence and testimonies. It gives me hope that this MF is going to end up in jail for the rest of his life. Saying bro is a danger to the public. People saying, what do you think happened? Strangling, maybe a lot of domestic incidents. People are saying suffocation or strangulation seem most likely. Given the nature of the case, I wonder if there was some type of terrible sex abuse that might have resulted in her death. Most likely, they would have known if it was due to blunt force trauma or traumatic injury despite the decomposition. People are saying this means that she didn't overdose through misadventure. That was a nonsense theory, I'm not going to lie. That was a load of baloney from the get-go. It says, I'm guessing someone else dumped the car, not David. I hope there's some answers and we get some justice. People are saying, I hope they were able to determine the cause of death. Other people are saying, no, they haven't. I read the article and the very final line says they reached out to the medical examiner, but because the file is sealed, they didn't get a response back. I'm sure it's a TMZ clickbait title, but people are saying it was ruled a homicide. LAPD contact apparently told Harvey, but the specifics weren't released. Now, I wonder if this video here is him giving the information. Let's hear what he said.
I think there is a problem in the prosecution's case against David the singer. Let me explain. The grand jury.
So look, all right, I'm going to react to this in a different video because I'm going to do a whole separate video just specifically about the theories, the very weak theories that, he might not have murdered her, which just sounds like nonsense at this point, okay? But this is people on David Idiots talking about it. It says medical examiner ruled it homicide. It should be a slam dunk now, right? People saying slam dunk is an exaggeration, but from what I understand, the problem in the case was the fact her body was so decomposed, it was tough to establish the manner of death. This opened up a whole slew of defenses that David could have, especially because if she OD'd and panicked, she OD'd and panicked. Sorry, I'm slow today. Especially the she OD'd and I panicked defense that TMZ has been pumping for him and Miss Blair Burke since the beginning. Thoughts? What are your thoughts? Okay, people are saying it could be or it could not be. We, the public, still don't know the cause of her death nor the circumstances or even when she died, but I'm hoping the investigators did determine it. David was on tour for weeks when her body was found and was avidly traveling in the months leading to the discovery. It depends on how much evidence they have to prove David was the one that killed her, have to prove that he was in Celeste's vicinity at the time of her death, if they even know when she died, and then prove that David carried out the act. Well, they've arrested him, so I think they can prove that. Even if they know that she died of strangulation, for example, the prosecutors still have to prove beyond reasonable doubt that David is the one who strangled her. I'm hoping they have enough evidence to do that, but at this time, we don't know what the prosecutors know. People are saying, I wonder who David would argue did it instead. Good points you made, of course. Was he trying to set up Neo, perhaps? And is that why he flipped? People saying it's a good question. I wonder if David's team will try and point the finger at anyone else at all. David will be on trial, so the defense team is only responsible for proving his innocence, and they may be able to do that without pointing the finger at someone else. Obviously, the most likely perpetrator is David, and most people would agree. So if there's no one else to point the finger at, then they may not. But his team may also try and argue for lesser charges, which goes into the whole overdose theory. His team may argue she overdosed and he hid the body out of fear, and that's what he should actually be charged with. People saying him going for lesser charges is what my intuition is saying that they want right now, especially with Blair's specific statement that he didn't commit the murder, that it would be hard to prove he didn't dismember her after the fact, but the overdose argument is their best bet from what we know, but it's still BS. It says they'll 100% point their finger at someone else. They might not even name a specific person. They'll just use the some other dude did it defense. It's such a common legal argument that there's a term for it, unfortunately. He's a touring artist. He wouldn't have had time to do this. Lots of people had access to his house. Lots of people had access to the car, etc. I'd be surprised if they directly suggest his management or one of his friends did it, though. People saying it's according to TMZ. Unless I see it from the medical examiner, people aren't believing it. So look, interestingly, this news came just about an hour after Harvey Levin actually claimed on TMZ. So I think this is from the previous video I was going to watch. I wasn't going to watch 7 whole minutes, but I've got a clip for you guys here. And Harvey's basically saying that they might still never determine the cause of death. I'm not going to lie, Harvey low-key be running defense for David. He's a bitch.
And I can't really think of another good reason, other than if the grand jury rejected the case, for the DA to spend all that time before the grand jury and then to say, okay, now we'll just charge him. It doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. And, yesterday felt like a show. There's a lot of behind the scenes here, but when you look at, the way this went down with the police, this felt like a statement more than just an arrest. So there is something going on here that is really interesting, and I don't know what it is. But again, it would seem like if the case is that compelling and they spent 5 months before the grand jury, why didn't the grand jury issue an indictment? So one of the things that is going to come up here, and I know this, is cause of death. And we know that the defense is saying he did not kill her, and that they are going to fight that. Cause of death is going to be really important. We know, based on contacts with people connected to the medical examiner, that they had a tremendously difficult time with this case, that it was very difficult for them to establish cause of death. Frankly, we do not know to this day whether they have actually determined, is it accidental? Is it homicide? We don't know what they've said. And I think the DA at this point must know. But there was a real fight going on, between authorities over this. And even if they determine cause of death is homicide, everything, and I don't know that they did, but everything leading up to it that we were told is that they may never be able to determine cause of death because of the state of the body at the time they got it.
So Harvey loves to run a little bit of D for David. He loves to write a bit of David D. But I personally do think that they probably will get to the bottom of this. And, I think he's running a little bit. He's two-faced. He's a two-faced man, right? And his old weathered 70-year-old face is a little bit duplicitous. But anyway, okay, before this, Steve Fisher, SF Investigates, he would post a little bit of an update about the arrest. And he would kind of give a little bit of a somber tone to this situation. He said, David was arrested by complaint. not by indictment, and the case will be submitted to the DA's office on Monday for charging consideration. This likely means either the grand jury didn't return an indictment or the DA chose not to seek one. An arrest by complaint means that there will be a preliminary hearing to determine probable cause. This is a public hearing where evidence is presented and witnesses are questioned under oath, something that's bypassed with a grand jury indictment. It will be important to see whether this reflects a difference in strategy or a difference in opinion regarding the strength of the case between the LAPD and the DA, or if there's another reason it's proceeding this way. Impunity agreements, whether formal or informal proffer agreements, remain in effect, even though there was no indictment. Okay, so if somebody cut a deal, someone like Neo cut a sweetheart deal, that might still be in play. So people are saying, I wonder how the family react about this. The family issued a statement saying they believe his innocence. It's on ABC 7. We're going to look at that in another video. Okay, we're going to look at that in another video. But it says a preliminary hearing should be very interesting. I guess that'll be at the end of the month or so. Looking forward to it. People are saying it'll be sooner, won't it? I might be completely wrong. But I was under the impression that unless he waives the right to a speedy trial, the government doesn't have more than a few days to get this done. So we're going to get an update soon. People are saying Blair is something else. I'll be surprised if she can get him out of this one. It says, so in short, they could have done this 7 months ago. Am I reading that right? It says, no, 7 months ago, they wouldn't have had the evidence and evidence analysis that they presumably had now. We had a lot of evidence, all right, months ago. People saying, I'm curious to know who the witnesses will be. Neo must be key. The parents maybe. Asia, Rob, how long can a preliminary hearing last? Now, interestingly, we've got some more analysis. Attorney Mark Geragos would basically break down David's current legal situation with his expert analysis, and I'm going to show that to you right about now.
Just go through the difference in someone being charged versus arrested versus indicted.
So and I don't know if I haven't checked, have you checked today whether or not he's entered into the sheriff's inmate system?
Yeah, he's there. I have it right here. It's a felony charge level. And it's the agency description is LA robbery homicide. Bail is no bail. And the location is LAPD 77th Street.
Which makes sense. And it does not have a case number. Does it have a court date?
Nothing.
Correct. So this would seem to indicate, and for those who don't believe that Lauren and I do a little bit of preparation, we talked yesterday, and for everybody, I will tell you, my first inclination or gut reaction was he gets picked up on a Thursday. There are Thursday grand juries, so-called Thursday grand juries, and that the grand jury had indicted. This is not apparently an indictment. This does not even appear to be a complaint. A complaint is where the DA files paperwork, and the paperwork then goes to an arraignment where he's heard or a bail is discussed, and you enter a not guilty plea, and then you set a probable cause proceeding, which is what an indictment is. It does not appear that any of that has been done as of yet, because, by the way, picking him up on Thursday evening.
So what Mark's about to say is he's basically about to break down how the timing and the nature of the arrest actually appeared to be a bit of a strategic move by the prosecution. So listen to this.
I don't know what time he was booked in, or Thursday after 12th. Under the current state of the law, he may not be brought before a magistrate until Monday. Meaning
that was so on purpose. So on purpose. Yeah. And just so you know, it says the arrest time was 5 p.m. He was booked at 12 p.m. in the jail. So, yeah.
5 p.m. is 5 p.m. The cynic in me would say that's not a coincidence. That gives them, it's after the court date. I'm sure his lawyer is frantically trying to get him on calendar in Department 30, but it's a difficult situation here, and there's a little bit of chess moves going on, because since there isn't a filed complaint, if you go to Department 30, which is the arraignment court, the clerk's going to look at you like you're smoking crack, because, well, she won't do that because she's very kind, but they're going to say, what can I do? We don't have a case.
Right. And, the DA's office said this is going to be kicked over to the Major Crimes Division, and we will have an update by Monday, again, for filing consideration. So that is when hopefully this DA obviously doesn't have an issue making any statements to the press. So hopefully we'll get a press conference. we can finally go through the docket and say, okay, there is a case number to this, and then I can write my letter to get the indictment, or someone can go pick it up for me, I hope.
I don't think they're going to indict on this case, and there is a question as to whether they tried to indict and didn't get a true bill, because at this point, what this does practically, based on the information you're giving me, it could change if we get something else, but practically what this does is it gives the DA the whole weekend to formulate what they want to do.
So he's saying that they arrested him on a late on Thursday. All right, it's Friday now. They're saying that basically it's given the DA a little weekend to work things out. But what's really interesting, a lot of people are saying, well, why didn't the grand jury charge him? Did they not have the evidence? Why are the LAPD arresting him now? And then we got to see if an indictment drops on Monday. It's a little bit dicey. Could you imagine if they say, nah, actually we ain't got enough, and they let him out? Honestly, it could happen. I hope it doesn't happen, but it could happen. And Mark would go on to basically give some of the reality behind the scenes of what David is likely experiencing while in custody, and it's delightful.
7th Street, why is that the place to talk? Just curious.
It's all wired. They've got it wired up. I mean, they have 77th Street is a lot easier to monitor what somebody who's in custody is saying than inmate receiving at the county jail.
Okay, got it. And just so I know, like, just take me through really quickly. Like, I mean, what
well, we're not detaining you at 77th Street. So I'll say, just so your listeners know.
No, I mean, I'm just wondering, like, so what is going on with David? He's going to be sitting in a cell all day? Like, when you were sitting
Correct. They can keep them. Normally, what would happen is when you're detained at 77th Street and you have not been taken for arraignment, you will remain at what's called a substation until you're taken for arraignment on Monday. So he will be transported presumably to directly to the courthouse, to the criminal courts building, the Claridge Shortridge Folks building on Monday morning. He will sit in, generally, unless they put him in a keep away area, they'll put him in the tank outside at 30, and then he'll wait. And then the DA will make some kind of an announcement as to whether they're filing or not. If I were also, again, to be a cynic, I would say this is also could be performative, that you have the weekend to let all of the media attention build, and then you do a press conference and proclaim his guilt in a press conference, and then you run to the judge and say, we want a gag order because we don't want any of this stuff leaking. That is a kind of the blueprint of what the modern prosecutorial era looks like.
Okay. And I guess, I'm just wondering at this point, when it comes to David, is he physically just going to be sitting around all day thinking about this? I mean, I'm sure he gets a phone call or two. He'll get 3 meals, whatever. But what is he?
Correct. He'll sit in a cell. I would imagine he's entitled. It's actually a misdemeanor in California to deny him access to a lawyer. So I would expect that either Blair or somebody in her office will be down there talking to him for hours and hours and hours. One of the reasons that you would do that tactically is not only to try to keep him calm and not to say anything stupid, but you also want to take him out of a situation where he's put in some kind of harm's way or being compromised, whether it's another inmate claiming for a confession, whether he makes a phone call, whether there's a interrogation, all the things that are a defense lawyer's worst nightmare.
Right. Is he with? Does he get his own cell, or is he in a big holding cell, or how does that work?
Completely at the discretion of the jailer.
Ooh.
With a lot of prosecutorial input.
Okay, he's alone then. I mean, I'll call him.
No, they may have him in. They may have him in with somebody who wants to reduce their sentence. Once again, being a cynic.
Wait, right? No, that's.
So they be putting him in with undercovers. They be putting him in interview rooms, interrogation. We might get the interrogation of David eventually. They might have put him in there. I mean, there was a whole bunch of things. I remember when Draco the Ruler had his case. Him and his crew, they were sent to jail put in cells with undercovers, and undercovers was basically trying to get them to confess to what was going on. Now, a lot of people have been saying that many people want to see other people arrested. People have been atting Asia, Neo, hashtag everyone complicit. They've been saying they want to see everyone pop up at the county.
They got your mans. They got your mans on assault charges. Yeah, the you be hanging with. You be hanging with. Oh, offender. And he was your mans. He was your boy. I heard you grew up with him. That's crazy, man. You ain't know what he was doing? You ain't feel bad at all? Like no guilt, none of that?
So they're directing that at Asia and Neo and everyone complicit. People saying, I hate Asia so much, and that slimebag Neo. I hope they apprehend them too. They're saying Asia crying right now. Asia and Neo better be next. Asia is next to be arrested. Just wait. She was there before, during, and after, like the private investigator said. All right. Why is everyone saying Asia must be next? Maybe Neo and Asia have nothing to do with the murder. We don't know. Okay, we don't know. But look, that's the latest update. All right, that's how it all went down. I'm going to do a separate video now, just all about him putting forward his defense, saying that he didn't do it. A bunch of codswallop, as we would say in England. Okay, but I'm going to do that in a separate video. This is the latest. This is the situation. Shit's getting crazy. Okay, David is sweating in a jail cell on 77th Street right now. Okay, and it's a delight. So anyway, I'll be back with the next video. Stay tuned for that one. Thank you for watching this one, and I'm out for now, gang. Peace, and long day for David.